How is he?
Hard to say, love. They're doing all they can.
I'm so sorry, Nan. All the incredible things he's done in his life. To be brought down by this.
I know, love. I know. He was wondering... last night, when he was still okay. He was wondering if you'd be able to go over to the house. There's something he'd like.
Where's that, Grandad?
That? Well, that's where I used to work, Pet. Just up the road. One of the places, anyway.
Was that in the olden days?
The olden days? Yeah, I suppose it was. Funny, really. You never think of them like that when you're there. When you're living through them, every moment's as real as every other one.
Nice and early, I see. That's a surefire way of getting yourself into my good books.
I couldn't wait to get started, to be honest, Mr. O'Connor.
Pleased to hear it.
You made all these here, did you?
Oh, not me personally, but yeah, you could say that. Some call it magic. I just call it hard graft. Most of this lot here, they'll end up around the world somewhere or other. One or two will hang on to.
Whereabouts?
Oh, close your eyes and stick a pin in a map. Chances are, wherever you stick it, one of these beasties will end up there. They're good. But your job, while you're here, is to make them even better. Bring a pencil. Ah! Got the whole kit and caboodle, eh? Good lad.
Ah, here's one. A 15-tonner, that. They used to make toys of them. Well, there was no computer games then, you see, so little ones used to play with them instead. Not so many girls, though, which is a shame.
Did they only make road rollers?
Barfords? No, not at all. They made everything. You name it, Pet, they had it rumbling out of their gates at one time or another. Anything that would help us build the best future we could for ourselves. If a farmer didn't grow it, Mr. O'Connor would say to us, an engineer would have to make it. And the best of them all, at least the one that set the wheels in motion round here, was a chap called Richard Hornsby.
Oh, look at the state of this. It would profit a man no less to scatter the seeds himself with his own bare hands. I swear, Mary, a child could design a better one.
What do you say, little Richard? Think you could?
I don't know why I keep wasting my time with this stuff.
Then don't. If you see how it can be improved, improve it.
You've been in the attic before, haven't you, love? You know how to get up there?
A couple of times, yeah. When I was little.
Oh, he loved it up there. It was his little hideaway. His grotto. Kept everything up there. Do you know, I don't think he ever threw a single thing away in his life.
Wow, this one looks very old, Grandad.
Oh, it is. Even older than me, if you can believe that. That there. That's all the awards Hornsby's won for their engines. All the types, look. Amazing. Thing is, that's not even what put them on the map. No, what did was what they did next.
Some gentlemen to see you, Mr. Ackroyd, from up Lincolnshire way.
Ah, yes. The and Sons I've heard so much about. Now, which one's which?
I'm William.
And I'm James.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, let's get straight to it, shall we? Here she is.
My, it is a thing of beauty, isn't it?
I'd certainly like to think so. And with your help, gentlemen, of some practical benefit too.
Fancy turning it over for us?
It would be my pleasure. The idea came to me when I spilt some paraffin oil over a pot of molten tin.
Oops, bit clumsy.
But fortuitous. For you see, I saw the oil vaporise and catch fire right before my eyes the moment it came into contact with a paraffin lamp. This allowed me to pursue the idea of using paraffin oil for an engine, which, unlike petrol, would not vaporise in a carburettor because, as you know, gentlemen, its volatility is no way sufficient to allow it.
You say we're not the first you've shown this to?
Correct. No, alas, others saw no use for my little contraption. Merely impressed upon me their fears that such a device might well damage their own existing product lines.
Well, my brother and I have a name for such people.
And what is that?
Fools!
And they were right, because the Hornsby Ackroyd oil engine, after just a few modifications, would go on to power the world. From here, where it was made, it spread out everywhere across the sea, right down to Gibraltar, where it allowed its famous rock to be lit up for the very first time. As people were being wowed by that, it spread across to India, where it gave electricity to the Taj Mahal, the giant mausoleum built by the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan to house the tomb of his favourite missus. After that, off it sailed to every coast, giving voice to all the lighthouses whose beams couldn't be seen through the murderous fog. Then, perhaps most famously of all, it lit the torch in Lady Liberty's hand so she could welcome to America all those who yearned to make a home for themselves in the promised land.
Is that where you met Nan? At Barford's?
By the bike rack, that's right. She worked in the office with all the bigwigs. Her job title was secretary, but she ran the place, basically. We'd ride home together on our bikes with all the others, grabbing onto the backs of trucks and getting a tow till we had to part at the junction. We'd just made a big sail to South America. Motor graders, if I recall correctly. There was a big party, and that's where I got down on my knee.
Okay, everybody. Say cheese. Cheese.
They're called technical drawings.
Are these what you used to draw?
That's right, at Barford's and where I went next. Though that was a different kettle of fish altogether. I fancied something different, you see. And at Stillwell, well, I certainly got that.
It looks very messy.
Now that's an exploded view. It shows the relationship of how all the parts work together. And that's the secret to everything, you see, especially in engineering. Everything has to work well together, almost like, well, as if it evolved that way.
Well, what we're doing is kind of new.
New here, anyway.
It's a Henry Ford innovation.
You know him, right?
Car chap, sure.
Well, Ford wanted to make automobiles for everyone, not just the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts.
Make every man feel like he's the captain of his own destiny.
But in order to do that, he had to come up with 3 things. He had to make them A, elegant, B, reliable, and what's the third one?
See?
Fast. He had to make them fast.
I joined Steelweld as a trainee draftsman, and before you could say welding line, I was working as the assistant to the sales manager. It was such an exciting time watching these huge welding lines come together. As tall as houses and as long as streets. That's how Mr. Botello described them, and he wasn't far wrong. They were that and then some. Seeing how well this new process worked, the Soviet Union then decided they wanted a piece of the action. So they invited tenders from all over the world. But after months of back and forthing between us and them and all the various governments, who do you think they went and gave it to? That's right, yours truly. A whole bunch of them aeroflotted over from Moscow, and I was the one responsible for them. It didn't help that none of them could speak a word of English. But they could speak engineering. And at the end of the day, that's all that mattered. But things change, don't they? Just as wars end, factories close and others merge and people move on. All so they can take a step forward and meet whatever new challenges life throws at them. If they didn't, the world would get ahead of them. They'd never be able to catch up. As someone once said, you either adapt or you die. And Grantham was no different. The good thing about being an engineer is once you've got your papers, you can walk into any job anywhere. So that's what I did after Steelweld went the way of the dodo, headed straight over to Marco's across the way. Their thing wasn't road rollers or welding lines. It was the protection of Her Majesty's shores, just as it had been for my dad at BMark. For many companies in the town, defence had always been the name of the game. That's why it became such a pain in the backside for Hitler. Why he sent so many bombers over here. We had the skills, you see, and the factories where we could put them to good use. A lethal combination against any tin pot tyrant. But then, in no time at all, the factories started closing. Even the most iconic ones. And eventually all we had left was the skills. And even they started shrinking when the few companies still around started culling apprenticeships, the lifeblood of the whole industry. Complacency, you see. That set in. And as it did, others started offering the same products but cheaper. To keep up, we started trading with people we'd never have had anything to do with in the past. Then it wasn't really about defending our shores anymore, but something else. And I didn't feel quite as proud as I once did about what I was using my skills for. I like to make things, you see, not break them. I started to wonder then what I had left to give. And I came to the conclusion that it wasn't in engineering anymore. That doesn't mean everything I'd learned would be wasted, because what had it taught me? It had taught me how to take what was around me and make it into something better. Now, that wouldn't change. But what I'd be making would be a good deal less bothersome. So after much deliberation, I put down my pencil and I picked up my paintbrush. The hard angles gave way to something softer. And the lines may not have been quite as straight, but at no point did I ever deviate away from what was true. 'Cause that's all that matters in the end.
I'm just switching it off now. I'm going to put you onto speaker. He'll be able to hear you.
Hello, love. Strange to be talking to you like this. It's like when we first started courting. Remember? I just wanted you to know that I haven't gone anywhere. I'm still with you. Just like I'll always be.
Hi, Nan. Any news?
He's gone, love.
Oh,
It was very peaceful.
I've just found the drawing kit he wanted.
Oh, that wasn't for him, love. Well, that's for you. Aren't you starting your apprenticeship at the college soon?
The end of summer. Yeah. Well, if everything's back to normal by then.
Oh, I'm sure it will be. Well, they'll have a vaccine by then. Well, that's what the nurse thinks.
Fingers crossed, eh?
Have faith. There are some clever people out there, love. Just like your granddad was. And all those others who built the machinery that kept him alive all this time. Well, they see where something's failing or not working quite as well as it could. And what's the first thing they ask themselves?
How can I make it better?